Hi there, and in this video we're going to be talking about the moon phases. You can look at this beautiful picture and all those different phases of the moon. By the end of this video, you'll know why those moon phases happen and, like when they happen. So first of all, the moon rotation and revolution. Just like the Earth, the moon rotates on an axis and revolves around the Earth. So it rotates, meaning like it spins like a top, and it revolves, which is what you can really see in this GIF here. Now keep in mind, it also is rotating in this GIF. If it wasn't rotating, then we wouldn't see the backside of that moon at all. One revolution of the moon around the Earth takes about 29.5 days. One rotation on its axis also takes about 29.5 days, which is pretty unique. Now remember, for Earth, one revolution is 365.25 days, and one rotation is 24 hours. So this is very different than what we experience here on Earth, and that's okay. So the moon, it does always look the same. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but due to the rotation and revolution always being the same, we always see the same side of the moon. The amount of the moon that we see might change, but the surface itself always stays the same. If you look at the GIF in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that the moon is revolving around the Earth. That arrow is showing you which face of the moon or which side of the moon is facing us. Now that arrow is always pointing at the moon. We always see the same face of the moon. But if you follow it all the way around, you can see that that arrow actually does one full circle with each orbit. And so this is why the rotation revolution being the same, that's why we always see the same side of the moon. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner, it says, look at how these moons look exactly the same. We just don't always see the same surface. All of those moons, whether we're talking about the full moon or all the way over here to our our waning crescent, the surface is the same. We just don't see all of it. SpongeBob's face to the right is always what we see. We just can't always see all of it. And that's essentially what's happening with the moon here. The same side is always facing us, just like SpongeBob's face. We just can't always see all of it because it's not always in the sunlight. So day and night on the moon. What causes day and night in general? Well, remember that daytime is just when we're facing the sun, and nighttime is when we're not facing the sun. This happens on the Earth, but it also happens on the moon. You can see in the GIF to the right that half of an object is always facing the sun, and that would be daytime. And now half of the Earth is in darkness, and half of the moon is also in darkness. It's the same thing true for every sphere in space, or everything in space. If you're facing the sun, you're experiencing daylight. If you're a sphere, half of your sphere will always be in daylight. So what causes the actual phases of the moon? The revolution of the moon changes how much of the lit half we can see. Boom, that's our phases. So if you look at the GIF, we have this moon and it's moving around the Earth. That's called orbiting or revolving. And sometimes that lit half of the moon, that light gray half, sometimes that's facing the Earth. And that's the part of the moon that we can see. The moon doesn't emit light, it only reflects it. So if we can't see that half of the moon that's exposed to sunlight, then we can't see the moon. Now on this back side, we can see the whole lit half for a full moon. We can see the non-lit half for a new moon. Or should I say no moon, right? Get it? New moon, no moon, you can't see the moon in a new moon phase. So the full moon phase is when it's on the far side. So it's the Earth is in between the sun and the moon. And that's our full moon because the full lit half is boom facing Earth. Now the new moon, or the no moon, that occurs when it's sun, moon, Earth. And that's when only the dark half of the moon is facing Earth. And if we can't see the part that's reflecting light, then we can't see it at all. And that's why it looks like there's no moon on those nights. So Earth's moon's phases. The lunar cycle takes about 29.5 days and begins with the new moon.